Hey everybody, it's Jazzy, the video store Sasquatch. We are here for Horror Night in the Cave. It is Friday night, and we went ahead and watched It Follows. It was a great horror movie. It was directed by David Robert Mitchell. Stars Micah Monroe as Jay Height, Keir Gilchrist as Paul, Olivia Lucardi as Yara, Lily Soap as Kelly Height, Jake Weary as Jeff/Hugh, and Daniel Zavada as Greg Hannigan. IMDb gave it a 6.8. The synopsis of it is Jay meets Hugh at the time, Hugh, and she kind of, is digging him. They go on a couple dates, which we see, and he has sex with her. And it's willing sex, consensual sex. It's both a good time in the movie for both partners. But then all of a sudden, after it happens, yeah, everything turns for the worse. Um, that's basically where we are with horror movies. Always, it's always a morality tale. It's a way to get teenagers to scare you. I believe if you think about it in the dark ages, they had the fairy tales that were evil. We kind of got a little Disney version of it, so we don't realize that a lot of those characters were a lot more menacing and a lot more evil than they are portrayed in Disney movies, and there's a lot more terrible endings than good endings. Um, the, so the couple of things that I really liked about this movie is the background of it. I love the background of it. I looked it up just to see if it did actually put a decade or a year on the movie. It does not. As a matter of fact, that's what I like it so much. It's very vague. It could be any time period. They have a little cell phone clam thing. That's about the only time you really get anything modern. Every television you see in it is the old school box, big television. So from the 90s or whatever, it's set in Detroit. We know that for sure. She references 8 Mile a couple times, so we know that they are in Detroit. Um, Micah Monroe, she's very good in it. Yeah, I think she's at this time kind of like a almost like a rape survivor when you think about the situation. I'll kind of go into it later. She plays very well. She has a PTSD. You see it in her face. You see it through the scenes. You see her gradually kind of coping with what she has, what's going on with her, what is happening, and then drawing her friends around in the social circle. It's a really well done movie. Here comes the rundown here. So we start off the movie with the first girl or the first person that we see with this it as it because it never really has a name for it. So I'll just kind of it the whole time. It basically is you see someone coming at you from however far away. They're coming at you. They're going to come at you, and then when they get you, it is a pretty brutal death. We see two of them. The first girl is the first one. I mean, she's bent apart. She's torn apart. It is wild. It is scary, and then it kind of sets the tone for what the hell we watch. What did we see? We don't understand what's going on. And then we see Jay in the swimming pool. The two little perv boys kind of catch her while she's in the pool. That actually plays back later in the movie where we see him peeping outside. They go to the movies. That's the first time you meet Hugh at the time. And they play this game. It's called the Trading Places game. Basically, you pick a person and you decided that you want to trade the person's life with you or whatever. He does it. He picks a little kid. She kind of doesn't understand why, but when you think about what he's going through right now, he has this thing that no one has. He sees the kid as optimistic. He explains it to her. And then this is the first time that we kind of sense that something's wrong because she asks him, it's her turn to play the game, her turn to pick the person to trade places with. And he's kind of looking around and he says in the back, that girl over there with that, and then she can't see him. So he immediately realizes, uh-oh, this is not good. That girl is part of it. And then this is the first kind of scene that we're going to break down. It's the first walking scene. I'm only going to give you about 10 seconds of it, but I think you're going to really see what I mean about it, and I'll kind of talk about it afterwards.
Thanks for walking with me. Mom knows you smoke. Yeah, but she'll cry if she actually sees it happening. Or she'll just steal your cigarettes. How's it going with you? Good. Honestly, I don't know, I was acting kind of weird last night.
So the way this scene is it's kind of exactly what sets up everything for it. You see the wide background, you can see all the way down the block, almost 3 blocks down. And then when they kind of switch over on that last second, you see the kids and everything like that. That's all the camera work. That's because you got to spot these guys coming back 3, 4 blocks down, 5 blocks down, and then kind of anticipate the horror. And that's kind of what makes this movie so good is you're constantly anticipating. They don't, and then when they finally get there and they grab a hold of them and everything like that, you kind of see this is a real situation. So that is why the scene's perfect. At the end of the scene, you end up meeting Greg, who is like the little love boy of the block. You can tell that the sister definitely likes him. You can tell that Jay definitely likes him. I think maybe even later on in the movie, she admits to Paul that she did date him or had sex with him in high school. Okay, so we move on from that part of the movie to the next date, and this is when they finally hook up. And this is where the movie finally kind of turns on its own, and we finally understand what it is. Um, so they hook up, and then she kind of talks, and she kind of does this daydreaming thing, which happens 3 times in the movie, where she kind of just talks, and she's talking about how romantic she thought the first time would be, and then how it ended up being, blah 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 blah. He sneaks up behind her, chloroforms her, and when she wakes up, this is where this movie's good, is because when she wakes up, you wake up with her. She's tied up. She's only in her underwear. This guy just had sex with her. We don't know what this guy is planning on doing with her. And he's walking around all the time. He's very sketchy. He looks like he's on drugs. He's pacing around the corridor they're in, trying to look for it to see if make sure that she realizes it's real. And he tells her what's going on, and then he kind of just leaves her. He just dumps her off in front of the house that she lives in. Her friends are outside. The police get called. It's just a whole wild situation. And even the girlfriend of Greg kind of remarks, "Oh, there's always something going on there." I'm sure that means there's more something going on. We kind of only hear about the mom. We never see the mom until like the very end, when she's kind of rubbing the leg. And then we don't even know if that's her because it could have been it, but I'm not going to talk about that. Sorry about that. And then we have the classic classroom scene. This is the first sighting. This is definitely an homage to Halloween. She watches this old lady come from the courtyard all the way through. He keeps getting closer, keeps getting closer. All of a sudden, she has to run out of this room. She doesn't realize it. She hits 2 girls. She's like, "Can you see her? Oh my god!" Ah. You know, it's just a classic homage to old horror movies, especially Halloween. That's the one that really stood out from my mind. It was a really well done scene, and it shows the acting range of Micah Monroe. And then she finally tells Paul and Jay, on the couch. The window breaks. Oh yeah, because so she finally tells Paul. She finally tells them. So the window breaks. It freaks all of them out. It freaks her out. She doesn't know what's going on. They finally start to do everything. That's the first time that we see that freaking guy. The guy is huge. I don't have a shot of him. I wish I would have. He is one. Even the first time I watched it, that was the first time my heart went, "Whoa," you know. And anyways, Greg sees Jay running out. Jay at the park. So Greg sees this happen. All the commotion at the house. He gets him at the park, and then he gets there, and then all of a sudden now Greg's a part of the team. They go search for him, and this is the next scene. I'm kind of just going to show you the house that this guy was living in, this Hugh Jeff, and then you can see the kind of the trauma that this is having. And if you really look, you can tell the sister's annoyed. So where we pick up from this little clip here is they finally find Jeff's picture. We know his name's Jeff after this. It was in the nudie magazine that he was looking at. Paul finds it. They wouldn't go. They go to high school because he has a Letterman jacket on. That they know that this is the high school they went to. They get a teacher to show them who it was. They probably explain the situation a little bit. I mean, when you really think about this situation, it's it's borderline. It's pretty much worse, or not worse, but it's pretty much borderline rape. He basically gave her a disease, knowing that it was going to kill her unless she passed it on, hoping that as a female it would pass it on. He even explains that. He's like, even when they finally catch him up, which is after they go to the school, they finally catch up with him. He even says it. He's like, "You're a girl. This is gonna be easy for you to pass on," you know. And Greg and Paul are both like, "Hey, I'll do it." Um, and then they finally decide to leave. They go to a beach house, which is owned by Greg's parents. And this is the last scene. I'm going to show you guys. I don't really want to ruin the end of the movie too much for you, but I do want to show you these scenes. I want to show you why it's so scary.
You guys should get in the water. You want to? Maybe in a little bit. Come on. Oh my God! Stop it! Jay, what is it?
See, when that hair pops up, no one knows what's going on. It's kind of a scary situation. I get it. As the scene progresses on, they go into the shed. The shed finally door kicks open. Greg pops his head in there, which I would not pop my head in there because if you would have really watched it, they were firing shots. You pop your head up in that hole, you might get shot your head off. But Greg pops his head up in there. Eventually, a ghost gets through it. She opens a big barn door and she dips. I mean, she dips on all of them. I'm glad that this thing doesn't hurt people that didn't have sex with her because she definitely bailed out on her friends there. And if you kind of looked early in the scene, you definitely can see that Kelly wants to bang Greg and Jay definitely wants to bang Greg. Greg's on bang probably all three of these chicks. If you watch um, the other scenes, he's looking at Yara. It's kind of funny. They definitely make it seem like he's the player. And that's kind of where it goes because she wakes up in the hospital after all this happened. She got into a car wreck after bailing on her friends and then decides to bang Greg. Greg doesn't believe anything's going to happen. So he's fucking solid. He just got laid. He's happy. And then all of a sudden, a day or two later, she gets released from the hospital. She's looking out the window. She sees Greg walk into his house, trying to yell at him, realizing that it's it. And then she follows him. We see Greg die. That's the second and only other death in the whole movie. Um, kind of shows his hubris there. So now we know it's back after Micah Monroe, or back after Jay, which is not a good situation. Finally, let's see. Finally, where are we at? We're back here, and then we're back. Okay, so now we get Paul's plan. Paul's plan is actually a very solid plan. I wouldn't have thought of it. Um, he gets her into the middle of a pool where they all kind of celebrated something happened. I believe Paul kissed both the sisters there, which is kind of funny that Paul kind of got in there before Greg. Um, but anyways, they they align all the electric stuff around the pool, hoping that when it gets in, they're going to just electrocute the whatever it is. But then you don't realize that thing's gonna start throwing things. That thing's gonna get mad. It does exactly that. I mean, he's pelting Jay with just radiators, whatever electric, the TVs, stereos, whatever electric device they had. It's kind of funny. I don't think they really thought out the plan 100%. Eventually, they get through all of that, and then Paul decides, "Hey, I'm the one." So they do the deed. Paul goes and finds a prostitute, which actually is pretty not a bad idea. But I don't believe the plan would be successful because that prostitute might have died right away because it was a daytime. I think he'd have been better off going right at night, maybe 7 o'clock. Maybe let her get 3 or 4 Johns after him. I don't know. That's my opinion. But I'm not going to nitpick this movie. I'm just trying to be fun here, guys. It was a great movie. I gave it an A- in horror genre. This is for sure one of the classic horror movies of our time. It's a modern classic. There's so many ways you can do horror movies, and this one was definitely original, definitely enjoyable. And overall, I gave it a B plus. Maybe if you're not such a horror genre fan, I think there's still things about this movie that you're gonna like. And one of the things that is very good about it is not very gory. So you get the whole horror sense of it without having too much gore. I know that's a lot of people's problem, so this is kind of perfect for that. That's another reason why it is more the general masses. My first video I mentioned was a PG-13 movie. I was wrong. It is rated R, and after watching it, it is an R movie. It's not a hard R movie, but it is for sure a hard movie. For sure, a R movie. And so the big thing about this movie, and one of the number one reasons why I love it is I was delivering pizzas the day after I watched this movie after my home. It was probably August, so it was around fall. It was perfect timing. I show up to this house. The person takes forever to answer the door. And when I first show up to the house, like 3 blocks, 4 blocks down, don't you know, there's just an old man walking towards me. I get to the house knocking. This old man walking towards me. You can tell he has like a crack problem or something, some kind of problem, maybe a mental problem. I shouldn't put it on drugs. I'm sorry. Some kind of problem. He's kind of talking to himself. He's kind of looking. He's kind of hunched over. He's a little not intimidating, but then I go back to this movie, and all of a sudden this guy becomes it, and he's following me, you know. So I'm opening the door. I get the pizza to the person. I get to about the block. I get to the end of the house about the same time he gets there. I kind of stop for a second. You know, I realize everything's okay. It's just a movie. But that was kind of like my little funny story. And that was my It Follows story. It's a fun story. I like telling it. I think it's funny. You know, these movies you got to kind of have a lightheart about. You got to kind of have fun with them, and then especially if it kind of gets you, it's fun to tell people. Go ahead and comment on maybe one of those times it happened to you. Comment movies for me to watch on Throwback Thursday, which is movies before 2000. Comment for movies for me to watch on for horror movie night, and comment movies for me to watch on streaming Saturday. And then I go see one movie a week in the movie theater. This week I'm going to go see Twisters. So go ahead and have a good night. Have a good rest of your week, and thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment your top movie picks for Throwback Thursday in the comment section. And see you next time in the cave.